Good afternoon. My name is Matthew Pazinski, and I'm going to be conducting a persuasive speech for Thomas Edison State College, Com 209 Public Speaking on Disabled in Society. Every day, someone who doesn't even have a disability struggles and has challenges to get through the day. But those individuals with disabilities have greater struggles that is compounded by the inability to live and move freely in this society as opposed to someone who does not have a disability. For this reason, the American with Disabilities Act was established and signed into law over 25 years ago in 1990 by then President George W. Bush. The intention of this law was to afford those who were disabled a barrier-free ability to live in society. This barrier-free ideal was to allow individuals who had a physical disability that could not walk, could not see, could not maneuver within buildings, that ability to freely move within any building or place that would have previously prevented them from doing so. In the beginning of the passing of this act, there was a lot of things that needed to occur that weren't instantaneous. This law has evolved over the last 25 years, but still there is yet more to do because these handicapped individuals are encountering issues frequently regarding barriers preventing them from working and freely moving within the society. While significant progress has been made with the advances of this law over the last 25 years, there are still several areas that provide unique challenges that cause people to still require to utilize the American with Disabilities Act to file lawsuits on their behalf to prevent others from discriminating against them. A lot of individuals with disabilities have a stigma relating to the ability to interact socially and get over the issue of poverty within our society. For many, it is truly impossible to understand the physical and mental aspects of having a disability is. I have a unique situation where my uncle was born blind and has had other medical issues over the years that has made him disabled his entire life. I've seen him struggle even to this day, but his struggles have gotten slightly less, but they still exist, and they shouldn't exist. They should be gone by now. When he was growing up in the 1950s and 60s, being blind was almost something you wouldn't even relate to. Many people weren't aware, didn't know anybody, so he had to rely on the family more than anybody. But as he got older, he was able to be educated and find work. Two big barriers that many disabled people struggle to get over. And as he developed, he was able to gain his own independence, which was very important for him. And during that time, when he found the job, he worked at one place for over 25 years, um, but his job was eliminated as the functions and technology changed his position that he had as a clerk and everything went computerized. There was nothing that he could do to see or visually work off of the computer. But that was only part of it, as technology advanced a lot of the issues that he used to do, manual materials that then became computerized. But he was always a dedicated employee, and he loved what he did. He worked through the situations by developing little nuances to get him through that job. But if he wanted to sue for discrimination, he most likely wouldn't have won, as employers have become smarter about handling these situations. From the early to mid 90s to through 2000, there was an average of over 400 lawsuits filed on behalf of using the ADA law. Now, there's less than 156 average lawsuits a year. It's kind of leveled off, and there's no more jumps because over time, a lot of the issues that were constantly reoccurring have been resolved. These employees sometimes are exploited in such a way, or they're a pawn, because the employer does not necessarily want to employ them, but has to meet the mandates of the ADA law. The ADA law is also not self-enforcing. It's only initiated once a lawsuit has been filed on behalf of the ADA issue. One unique perspective that we see from this was a not too recent NBC News investigation that led to the exploitation of workers in Goodwill stores who were being paid below a minimum wage for work when they should have been paid at least the minimum wage. It's a constant struggle that disabled people have. Oftentimes, they are paid less because of their disability, when that is not right and should be illegal. And it makes them feel like they're not as valuable as another person that they work next to. While disabilities in the workplace is an ongoing problem and lawsuits are filed all the time, another major area where the disabled struggle to find refuge is transportation. Oftentimes they are not able to drive, and they struggle to find the ability to get from point A to point B. Over 31% of individuals in the disabled population are unable to find transportation to and from doctor's appointments, stores, medical appointments, and just getting around in general. Whereas 13% of the non-disabled population in our country has the same issue. This lack of transportation being afforded to the disabled is a major exclusion in an era where we are able to freely move within our society, and they're being left behind. Overall, as a society, we're not stepping up to help deal with this issue in allowing for the disabled to freely move within our society and develop a free and integrated society with the disabled. Much has been done as far as getting parking lots and handicap ramps so people can walk and move within the community. But going back to my uncle, he's blind. A lot of times he wouldn't know where the curb stops and the street starts. So if they don't have the access ramps, more than likely he'll trip and fall. So this is an area where, for as much money and legislation for transportation issues goes, it's not really making a difference for the disabled. We don't know what the circumstances always are for the disabled, but we should never really prejudge them and always lend a hand out to help them. In helping my uncle for over the last 30 years, I've been able to have a much greater appreciation for what his abilities are, and when I see him struggling, able to help him and allow him to feel like he can live and move within society as any other person. In closing, I'd like to use this visual aid as the universal symbol of the disabled in our society. This symbol shows everyone and makes everyone aware that there's someone that may be in that area or that is around that's disabled. I hope I was able to persuade you to help the disabled and make a difference in the world today and in the future. Thank you and have a good night.